Quickly on the Brook thing, I'm not kidding. That is exactly the way Glenn Cockcroft, his father, played Brook. Because I was the kid partner for Glenn, and I thought he was nuts when he bid a 200 bid one time, and we made it too. So, like I said, his father taught him to do that. Because Glenn, what he wanted, all he wanted all the time, the reason he always took the bids is because he wanted to control what the trump color was. That's the same reason Lauren did it. But I got another story that's a little more recent. Kind of shows you something about him. I live at the place I grew up in now, which is out on Road 388. And right across the road from me is a field that the Cockcroft family has farmed for, what, Scott, 30 years? Yeah, a long time. And I've been irrigating for the boys recently, up until this year when I got irrigated, so to speak. But this field last summer, it has a lot of, it's got a pivot on it now, but it has a lot of places where you have to tube irrigate. And of course, Lauren liked to drive around. Those of you who know him like to drive around and look at the fields. And he was always looking for corn that was dry. And I remember him telling me one time, he said, "Nobody takes a drink till the corn takes a drink." And I'm looking at him and realized he was serious when he said that. So one day he's out driving around, and I happen to be out irrigating his field. And he drives up and he says, "Hey, come here, Poppy." And that's how he operated with me most of the time. When he wanted something done, he'd come find me and, "Here, hop in," and we'd go do something, and it'd be something totally unrelated to what I've been doing. Whatever it was, he just needed another set of hands. So I hop in with him, we go driving around the other side of the field, and it's a part of the field that I hadn't been taking, I was not personally responsible for. He'd kind of been handling it. It had a set of gated pipe on there, and the gates were all open. All he had to do was turn the crank on the gated pipe and just open it up and run water there. So I wasn't too worried about that. Well, we drive over there and he starts showing me all the stuff he doesn't like about the field. And then we drive down to the end of the field, and there's this one little spot, probably 30 by 30, in this whole, what is it, Scott, 150, 200 acres there, something like that. 150, 200 acre field, there's this little 30 foot by 30 foot spot that's kind of dry. And he goes, "We gotta get water on that." So I go, "Okay, what's your suggestion?" And he says, "Well, I'm gonna go up here, I'm gonna turn on the gated pipe. And we're going to come down to the bottom of the field here, and we're going to funnel all that water down these rows, and these rows will feed down in here and get this." And I'm looking there and go, "Okay, yeah, that looks like it might work." So he drops me off at where we're going to do all the work, goes up to the top, turns on the water. And one thing I'd forgotten about him was when he turned on water, he turned on the water. So pretty soon, this water's coming over the hill. I see it coming now, and I'm going, "Oh man." And I started shoveling for my life. So I'm trying to figure out where this water's going to go and get it diked up so it'll go where we want it to go. And he comes back down the hill. And like I said, I'm shoveling as hard as I can go because I know this stuff is coming. I can see that it's a lot of water. He hops out of his pickup and he gets in there with me. You know, he wasn't afraid to get in there and work when the work needed to be done. So he's in there with me, and we're just digging out rows and funneling water different places. And man, this stuff is coming and it hits and it's going everywhere. And as quick as I get one thing sealed up, it can break out in another place, and the water wasn't going anywhere where we really wanted it to go. After about 30 minutes of doing this, I mean, that's as hard a work as I've done in my life. As we're digging this stuff out. And so we dig this stuff all out, and we finally get it going down the rows where we think it's going to go to this one spot that he's trying to get. And get it all diked up and get it all running, and finally I just said, "You know, we're going to have to release some of this into the waste ditch." Of course, he doesn't want to do that because he turned all that water down there so we could put it all in that one 30 by 30 spot. So he finally listens to me and says, you know, you're probably right. We've got too much water coming here. We'll cut open a place here and let some of it go and waste it. So we get it, drive it in there. And I told him, I said, okay, I think we're good. I'll come back in about an hour and see how it's doing. So I did that. And of course, he calls me on my cell phone about an hour later as I'm out in there looking and says, well, how's it doing? And I said, well, you're not going to be real happy about this, but none of that water got anywhere near that spot you were trying to get. Because what I should have done was gone out in there and looked and seen what he was trying to do. Because it's got a pivot on it, the rows had curved around, and that one little dry spot there was right in a really low spot. And I was out in there, when he called me, I was out in there cutting them all over to get the water over to the dry spot. Well, it finally got over there, and it got in there, but it never worked right, and that one spot was never very good. So, you know, I probably spent more time trying to get water to that one spot last summer than I spent on the whole rest of the stuff I was doing for Scott. And I finally went to Scott and I said, Scott, do I really need to spend all this time on this little bitty place? He said, nah, don't worry about it. We'll just cut it down with the rest. It'll be fine. Because we had the rest of the field looking pretty good, actually. So I stopped worrying about that. But that was Lauren. I mean, he wanted, if he saw any dry spot there, he was going to get water on it, and it was going to be a lot of water. And he did.